everyone. It is a drizzly December day here in Dallas, Texas, and probably kind of like what we're going to see the rest of the month. It's, sunshine maybe here and there. And I'm very, very pleased to have Sandi Greenberg on. She is the Director of Nursing at Cambridge Caregivers and Manchester Care Homes. And she is basically the lady responsible for all the health security of the clients, the patients of both of these fabulous homes. I don't know if you all know that Manchester care homes are full care homes where loved ones can go and get fabulous, round the clock care and treatment if they need it. And they're also protected, which is such an important thing right now, right, Sandi? They're protected. And then Cambridge Caregivers actually come into your home, correct?
So yeah. Cambridge, when we send private duty caregivers out to the homes.
You send it out to the home, right?
And they stay with them as a minimum of 4 hours.
Yes, to take care of folks. And we're actually kind of going through something right now with my mother-in-law up in upstate New York. So I'm really, really understanding, what needs to be done. And we'll be chatting with you guys if we decide to move her down here. But no, but Sandi, you have had such a tremendous, workload since this all started. I remember we spoke when it first started and you were just kind of like, oh my God, here we go.
Very overwhelming, for sure.
It is. And I don't know if the rest of the world quite understands how much people in the caregiving positions or, anyone in clinical care, how hard they've worked these last few months. So tell us about it. Tell us what it was like when it started, what you've implemented, and how, knock on wood, and thank God, you've managed to keep your homes COVID-free all this time.
It's been quite the challenge. So what we've been going on since March, as soon as it came out, I think we were with you, right, when we found out that this was all happening. Before the state mandated masks or lockdown, anything like that, I met with the owners and with our physician, and we immediately instilled masks to all of our, we said, this is our new norm. We'll be mask wearing 24/7 while you were at work. We immediately went into the cleaning mode of, all the bleaching and Clorox, everything, wiping down everything that was touched. We started educating all of our staff, all of our caregivers on a regular basis with, how to don and doff your PPE, how to be prepared for any type of emergency, what signs and symptoms to look for with COVID. I was printing things off from CDC, giving it to all the caregivers so they would, updating it because it was changing every day. We were learning new things. So that was, we literally hit the ground running. So we started mask about 2 weeks before the rest of the state, and we also went on lockdown. So I contacted all of our vendors, hospice, home health, everybody, families, saying, I am so sorry, but we are going to have to stop our visitation. We are going to have to completely, we came to a screeching halt. Let's just say I didn't have a lot of friends outside of the company because all the hospice companies were upset. They were concerned, of course, obviously, that's their bread and butter. They had to survive as well. But what we did with home health also is we started doing virtual visits. I said, look, I want you to be able to still be a part of our residents' care. So every week, along with a few other caregivers, will do virtual visits via FaceTime with different hospice companies. There were a couple of vendors that we, at first we wouldn't let them in. basically our caregivers took over, and I took over all the care of the residents. So instead of having a hospice aide coming in 3 days a week to give showers, or ADLs, our caregivers were doing it. So we had to increase our staffing to meet the needs of that. And also just, getting used to not having family members around. We'd have family members that would come in and feed their loved ones a couple of meals a day. So, it was just learning how to balance and figure it all out at each different house, because every house, we have 4 homes with 8 residents in each home, 2 caregivers at all times. And it was just a matter of finding that balance.
And that's so interesting that you were kind of, because you went into this with your medical background, you knew exactly what you were getting into. Did you have any experience before with communicable diseases, with Ebola or any of that?
So Ebola, I was at another facility during Ebola, and yeah, so it was a very large facility and a hospital, and we, of course, did the exact same thing with training, but on a larger scale, teaching staff how to take on and off PPE, and then of course having isolation rooms should we have needed them, once our patients were arriving for visits. But Ebola was my only real communicable disease that I had, been exposed to, thank God. So but and we didn't have any live cases. So when COVID hit, all we were doing was just research, and just trying to figure it out on a daily basis because literally new stuff is coming out every day.
That,
One,
it's so true. I don't think people really understand this. You do, because you're in the business. My husband's a physician, as you know. And literally, our offices are next door to each other. I'd be sitting on the computer and hearing him go, I'm like, what? He goes, oh, now there's a new thing out. He
right,
every day was reading not just CDC, but the medical journals, everything. Everyone was coming out from around the world.
around the
It,
world.
what they were finding and sharing, what they found in Italy, what they found in Spain, what they found in France, and just even through like emails he was getting from friends, saying, hey, have you dealt with this, and so you guys were doing the same thing and trying to keep up with it, right?
Absolutely. We're still doing it. I mean, we still, our physician will send me articles all the time, just here and there that she's from UT Southwestern from their department, just kind of keeping me in the loop with any changes or update vaccines and this and that. So it's a work in progress. And I don't think it's, something that we're going to stop learning about. But, with the whole mask, teaching our staff how to wear masks, I'm still, we still have to reinforce that all the time because they get tired. They want to pull them down. They want to, and we're constantly just, and they're great about it. They've been super, super diligent. They don't want to get our residents sick any more than we
Yeah.
want. So teaching them about minimizing their exposure when they're not at work was a huge deal. I mean, they all have families. I mean, it's, I have a family too. So we all had to kind of learn to cut back on all of our social outings, and I'm just reaching out.
It is so interesting because you have to think about, you're going home to your family, they're going home to their family, but where have they all been?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So we're constantly communicating, the owners, myself, with
Mhm.
Kelly, our doctor, just, when we find out someone was exposed or someone's child was exposed at school, I mean, it's a constant, we're sending them for testing. We're
Yeah.
waiting the right number of days before we send them for testing. It's just a constant, it's just
Okay.
always lots of motion.
It is. We had that too, where I got on Saturday, my daughter texted me, guess what? You know, my
Mhm.
granddaughter had been exposed to it at school. I picked her up the day after she was exposed. So I, of course, went, ah, called my husband, and he said, well, just we'll get you tested, but she probably wasn't shedding that early. So
Mhm.
I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. I just was had the freak out moment, but there's all these nuances that are just so complicated, and the world has to understand that, this is new. The
Mhm.
doctors are still learning as this
Right.
goes. Yes, but I'm just amazed. So some of the protocols that you think that you came under, maybe people were upset that you were, saying, no, you can't come. Have they come back to you now and gone, huh, you're a smart cookie?
Yeah, for the most part. There's still a few that are still trying really hard. It depends. So we basically set up, if it's a crisis care situation, if it was during the day or during work, hours that I could actually be there, because I'm on call 24/7, but obviously I can't work 24 hours straight. So if we had a situation, a hospice situation that we needed to have in the extra help, then I would work, the full day or 12 whatever hours. And then I would call in the crisis care nurse to come in and take over for the night if we needed it. That's only happened a couple of times. So it's been, but we are very strict with our protocol. I read them the rules right away. You cannot leave the room. You have to use this restroom. You are not allowed to come out to, ask if you need anything. You are to text, the caregivers. So they know the strict rules. And if I found out that they did not abide by the rules, they would hear from me.
Yeah.
So You know, it just depends. But everyone has been very, very, compliant with the guidelines because again, I don't think anybody wants to risk anyone's
No,
exposure.
no. And I think that as time wore on, I mean, at the beginning, well, it was kind of centered on the coasts, it was
Mhm.
kind of like, oh, well, New York, as it started coming to Dallas
Right.
and we started seeing France, then people kind of were like, whoa, well, we see this is
Mhm.
real. I still get very frustrated with people go, oh, the death rate is only 97 or 98%. Like, it's not the death rate, it's the sickness and the long-term effects that
Right.
some people are experiencing from this. It's like,
Absolutely.
I mean, just because, cancer is curable in some cases, you don't go out and get it, right?
I mean, there are so many people that are still not getting their sense of taste and smell back.
Right.
So, yeah, it seems to be more, I mean, from what I'm seeing, that's the younger population,
Yeah.
they're getting COVID, they're not having symptoms, but they're losing a sense.
Right.
And they're taking up to 3 to 4 months to get it back.
Just so bizarre to me about this. I mean, it's so
Right.
interesting. The other thing that I've heard from some of my friends who've had it is that they're finding that their memory has been affected.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Yes, which is like, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to get it because we have
So,
enough problems,
exactly. I feel that pain for sure.
Yes. And it could be that, the ventilator, people have been on the ventilator are experiencing that because it could be from the oxygen loss.
Right. Lack of oxygen.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Absolutely.
it's like it's not trivial, folks. So I love that. So you are going into the season now. We know that we're getting into this crunch. I'm so worried about next week, what we're gonna, what our numbers are gonna be after Thanksgiving. How do
Right.
you feel about that?
I mean, the same as I think everybody else in this field. We're worried, we're concerned. We can only hope that people were smart with
Mhm.
the holidays and did a lot of Zoom calls and just didn't expose themselves by, bringing in lots of family members or, friends. I mean, of course, everyone wants to open their home for Thanksgiving. That's what you do. I mean, that's kind of how we were raised. But we just had to, basically put our guard up and say we have to protect ourselves and our family members and, those that are around. I am exceptionally cautious because I'm in the four homes with all of our, elderly residents. So I have to, my family has been really good about making sure that my exposure is minimal.
How do
Um,
you do that with your family? Do you
it's really hard. So that's a good question. Well, my daughter is in college at Texas, University of Texas, so she's home now. But she's so cautious. First of all, she's already had it, so and she's done, and she's already got positive antibodies, so we're all good with that for
right.
now. But she's very cautious for me. And we're just super super careful on where they go, where everybody goes. So that's kind of how we
So like limiting like no restaurants or no bars or
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
What
So
about shopping? Is shopping okay?
what I do is I have, and people know this, if someone says, will you stop and get us there's one store I'll go to, which is Trader Joe's. I feel like Trader Joe's has been the most compliant when it comes to COVID. At least the ones I go to, they only let a certain number of people in. You have to be masked. You're in line 6 feet apart. I don't think other grocery stores are quite as
Yeah.
conscientious as they are. So that's my store. That's where
Well,
that is.
that's kind of what I do. If I see crowds, I leave. I mean,
Oh, I mean, right. And if I see a crowd there, I will turn around and go. But usually I try to go during hours, 2 or 3 in the afternoon when it's not crowded. I won't go on the weekends unless it's an emergency.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
so there are just things like that. There's very few places that I will go. Amazon loves it now, and so
I
we're
am like totally even more emphasized. The other thing I do, which is so funny, is I go like this to people, like, stay
I can
away.
see you doing
Get
that,
away.
Candy. I can see you doing that. That's funny.
I'm really like, I love you. I'm sorry being mean, but I want my space around me. So I'm like shushing people away. And I almost want to get a mask with that printed on it saying, please stay 6 feet away.
I'm sure they have them. They have every other mask out there. So
That's right. But that, that's it. My husband will not even eat at restaurants outside. He's
absolutely.
so, and I have done that, eating outside. I won't eat inside though. And, and certainly no bars. And,
I
you
don't
know,
even think bars are open. Are bars even open? I guess
I
so.
don't even know. I think they are at a certain capacity though,
Right. Yeah.
which is hard to
Oh, yeah.
monitor.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I think that's the problem with the grocery stores is that it's hard to, tell people no, you can't come in.
Yeah, well, Trader Joe's will not let you in. If what they've hit that number, they're done. They're
Good.
over.
That's
So
great. I know. That's what they should do. So you've protected yourself that way because you're aware of it, you're a professional. And of course, you've instilled this in all the employees too, right?
right. I mean, we send out notices. When I'm in the homes, I will talk to them. Just I mean, there are 4 homes. When you think about it, it's not that many. Each
Yeah.
home, 2 caregivers at a time, sometimes 3. It's easy for me to say to them, make sure you're really careful when you head out of here. If you need to stop anywhere, please wear your mask. Please hand wash, hand sanitize. And they go, Sandy, we're very careful. So,
Yeah,
I
but you tell them, and it's a small group. That's why what you guys are doing is so wonderful and so successful, and really a model because you are able to speak to everyone. You know these people; they've been on staff for forever, right?
longer than I have for
Yeah,
sure, most of them.
yeah.
So.
And so it's to know that you know what their habits are, and you know that when you suggest this is what they need to do, that they're going to do it.
And they tell, if they're going to, go on a weekend trip driving 3 hours away, we asked what they did. We want to see, I have them show me pictures. I had one sit down, and then after I saw the crowds of where she was, I spoke to the owners. I said, she can't come back to work until we test her. So each case is different.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
we'll keep staff out. We will, make them wait a certain number of days, test them, and then they get their results back and before they can come back to work.
But that's why your homes have been COVID free and safe.
I hope so.
I know we're all knocking on wood because we don't know. I mean, I'm saying the same thing. I have gone to a couple of events where it was a little more crowded than I want. And even though I left, I kind of went home and went, please God, 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, and no symptoms or anything. But it is, I mean, it's a very scary time for all of us. I mean, we're all psychologically just,
I feel that I was ever, if I feel like, oh my God, I was in a crowd or I was too close to people in a certain situation, I get home, I go to the laundry room, I change right away, leave the stuff. I mean, it's just things you just kind of get used to doing. So.
Interesting. So going forward for Christmas, because we've got that coming up,
Right.
what are we going to do? What are you guys going to do? Anything different or just kind of watch the
Very different. And I think about it. I think I started with this company right before Christmas last year, and I mean the homes were filled with people, and that's what I knew. The families were there all the time. So this is going to be a different scenario, and also Thanksgiving. We ordered food for all of the homes to have on Thanksgiving. We didn't let family members in for the holiday, but we did have let us have a celebration for the staff and the residents, and made it as Thanksgiving as possible. And then, but we did schedule visits. So we have visits on a weekly basis, but we couldn't because of the holiday and certain staff members wanted to be with their families. We scheduled visits on Wednesdays, Friday, and Saturday. So and a couple of other staff members and I were running the visits, and we had like more because they had some people come in town to visit. If they were on an airplane, they were not allowed to visit, but if they were driving, then we would do our COVID screen like we always do, and they sit 6 feet apart with the plexiglass in the middle, with the mask on, the same thing as always.
So that's how you're allowing the visitors to come in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have plexiglass in between. I think that's become a state mandated, I think. And we have then they're more than 6 feet apart. If it's a resident that can't sit up very well or, that needs physical assistance, then, one of us will stay in the room with them. Otherwise they're monitored visits. So we are either right in their room with them, helping them, to hear, to repeat what the family member says if they can't hear them, or we're right outside the room kind of monitoring. But I feel like at this point, I trust the families now. In the beginning, we had to really be on top of them, not because they were doing anything wrong, but because it was just human nature. They wanted to get up and hug them. Right. So now, they know our rules. They know, how, why we're doing this. They understand it better. At first, they didn't understand it very well. So now I think everybody has a really good understanding. No one, and we know the ramifications. We know how dangerous it is. So, for them and for our residents. So they're really, the families have been amazing as far as, listening to us and kind of following our guidelines and communicating. If, I had one today was visit day at one of my homes that I was facilitating. And I always text the family members, to see if they're still coming. And one said, "Oh, I was about to text you. I was exposed, so I'm not coming." So they know, so he'll stay out for 2 more weeks, so, and because I already called my mom and told her and she was fine, so it's just, some of the residents have a good understanding of it and some of them don't.
Yeah.
We just continue to work one-on-one with however they are able to comprehend it.
Well, last question for you is that apparently today the CDC just changed. Was it they just changed the quarantine time down from 14 to 10 days? Was it?
I think I did hear 10 days. Yes, I have to go back and read all of that.
Is that going to make things a little bit easier for you all?
We haven't sat down and discussed this. What I'll do is discuss this with Dr. Newcomer, and she's pretty conservative. So I'm going to say we're probably going to still stick to the 14
days. Okay, good.
We'll see.
Again, but you're nurturing and protecting a high-risk population.
We are, and we love them like they're our own family. So we're working with caregivers. I'm really encouraging them to engage with them one-on-one, not so much group activities, because most of our residents can't really do the group activities.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell them, a hand massage, giving them a manicure, brushing their hair, eye contact, all of these things count. All of these things are engagement. So, this just role modeling it for them and talking them through it, it's been very helpful. So, which they do anyway, but I want them to understand how important that really is, especially when they're not getting the touches and feels from their family members.
Absolutely. That is so important. Well, thank you so much for sharing this very important time with us so we can kind of understand it. And I do think you are, you have a very significant role that you played in that you really came in at the very beginning when nobody knew anything except for people in the healthcare field who even then didn't have all the answers, but just kind of knew what to do. And you really have been the one responsible for the amazing success that you've had. So congratulations to you. And I'm sure that every family member whose loved one is in your care says thank you to you.
Thank you. Well, I love it. So I'll continue to do this. So.
Oh, you do a very good job. Very good job.
Without the caregivers. So they are the rock stars. They're the hands-on. So thank you.
Well, we've had some very good examples that we all can adapt in our own lives. And just want to remind people out there that if you do have a loved one who needs more care than that they are not able to self-care for themselves either at home or if they need to be in a facility full-time, that Cambridge is a wonderful, wonderful place. And Manchester is the at-home service, yes?
Cambridge is the private duty at home.
Manchester's the homes. Cambridge
yes.
is the private duty 4-hour minimum. Come to your home, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And that time they can help with the bathing and the
there are so many different things that they do with Cambridge. And again, Brian could speak more to that, but the Manchester, our care homes they're top of the line for sure.
They certainly are. I'm telling you, I'm gonna already say that's where I want to go.
I tell caregivers all the time, when I'm here, this is what I want.
This is what I want, exactly.
I want you to take it there. They go, we got you. Well, we got it. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all this valuable information. And keep up the good work.
I will. You too.
Thank you.